Good morning. Trust you're all doing great. Alright, quickly, I want to describe the still on the interface of After Effects. I want to describe the various panels and their functions, so that you can get going or understand what how animation works, or how these panels assist in doing a proper animation. If you have installed the animation composer, which I did in the previous video, and the FX console, those are the two plugins we have installed so far. I would have also given us the KeyFast plugin, but that will make us lazy. KeyFast makes things faster, but for basic learners that wants to know the nitty-gritty of After Effects, it's important that you remove KeyFast from your list for now. Okay, you can. I will add it later. Like, I will bring it in later. How it makes animation easy and fast, that you don't have to go through all the hurdles of keyframing and all that. Okay, the word keyframing is something I will explain maybe in the course of this video. So, but I want you to know the the engine, what is really going on the ground in After Effects. So let's start by knowing the panels first. Okay, the number one panel I want to introduce to us is the project panel. Okay, if you don't see it from this side, because by default they are arranged on the left side, okay, you can go to the window and you'll see it there. It's usually having a shortcut Control 0. Okay, that's a project panel. So once you have this panel, something you want to take note of is this portion of the panel is a preview. Like, when I select something, it previews and gives me the information. Okay, the name I gave to it is what you see here, and the dimension 1920 by 1080 is what is here. The seconds and the frame per seconds, that's the duration rather, and the frame per seconds. The duration, this is the information it gives me here. While over here is whatever we can have a lot of things selected, like a lot of projects or files. They could be audio, they could be video, they could be pictures, they could be vectors, there could be so many things. Okay, and they will all be here. Okay, they are here because they are here, not that they are already in the video or the animation, but they are here so that you can pick them and drag them, perhaps drag them into the working timeline. So that brings us to the working timeline. The working timeline is this, what you have here, where you also have the same kind of arrangements, just like, let's just say it's a layered kind of timeline. Okay, when you create new layers, if I right click now, new, it could be a light, it could be solid, it could be text, and they arrange themselves in layers. Let me just type anything, so we have text. Okay, alright, when you type a text and you want to confirm it, you press the enter key on the numpad. Okay, that's what you use to confirm it. Okay, that text is looking small. This is a character panel, so we'll just adjust what we need to adjust on the character panel. There are a lot of panels that will be open in your own that you may not need, so you can close some of them so you can have some good space. Okay, if your FX console is working, there's no need for effects and presets. That's for me. I don't see the reason why I have to have it to open, so I close because FX console is working. But if it isn't working, okay, you can now leave that effect and preset until you have a solution to that. Alright, so let me still close let me close preview for now, because we'll definitely be using the shortcut. The audio, let's close for now. The info, definitely I want to close that. Alright, so we can have some space. Now that I selected the character, you can see the space we have here. Okay, so I can increase the text size. That's this one's or the font size. Increase it and bring it. Just drag it to the middle. So I can also change the color if I wish. Black. That's it's better viewed on the eyes. Okay. So, but this is a layer on its own. So I was trying to explain that this is a shape layer that has this shape on working composition, and this is a text. And if you understand layering in Photoshop, which I also said that every one of us must understand, we can send this back beneath, and it's beneath yet, and it's not seen again. Okay. However, we can also have this to be on top here, and we can do a lot of functions around here on this timeline. A lot of functions like this eye visibility icon, where the shape layer is not seen, but the text layer, because it's black, we cannot see it. The background is black and the text is black, so we cannot see it. If you change the color now to maybe white, and there you are, you can see it. So, but this can be above it and it cannot be seen. So that's something we should take note of. Alright. Anyway, that's just for us to understand what is going on the timeline. It's a sort of layering that also goes on in Photoshop. Okay. There are a lot of other functions here that it will take a class to explain. So, but for now, just understand that this is a timeline, and whatever you put here is what is being viewed here. This is the project. Whatever you put here is what you can easily carry to the timeline. Then from the timeline, you have a view at the composition. If this is clear, then we can move over to other panels. The next panel I will introduce to us is the render queue panel. The render queue panel waits for a command. The command is supposed to come from here, from the composition, and add to render queue. Once this command is given, Ctrl+M. Okay, once this command is given, everything that we have in test 1 will come into this place and stay here as test 1. Then wait for us to make some adjustments, which we will later learn how to do adjustment, and click on render. Once this adjustment is made, especially the output to where you want it to send the animation to, once it's done, you can click on render. However, if you are using 2021 After Effects, the view is a little different. Okay, and they may not even have to tell you to specify outputs. It may just be specified by default. Okay, depending on the version you're using. But this 2022 version, I don't know, it's just requesting for where to, and which is good. I mean, I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so let's just have a back of my mind. So 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. Yeah, I've treated 4 panels now. Okay, let's just explain the composition. The composition is like it's an interface that you personally might want to have your hands moving objects, like move an object and scale an object. These are the 2 basic things you can do here: move and scale objects. But we have the commands that we can also perform on the timeline, like also move the object in the timeline and it will correspond in the composition. Increase the size of the object in the timeline and to correspond with composition. Reduce the opacity, blend mode, everything we can think of in the timeline, and you will take it. In fact, most of the times you will spend more time adjusting the objects from the timeline than in the composition. So this is like the opposite of Photoshop, where you are doing things on the timeline rather than on the composition rather than in the layer. Remember, this is like a layer thing in Photoshop. Okay. am I supposed to be explaining the layering and not explaining the real timeline itself? Okay, the entire thing is just called a timeline. Okay, if you go to your Windows timeline, okay, the entire thing is a timeline, but there's the real time thing. Okay, alright, so to explain this, let me first of all start by going back to the settings of this composition. Okay, when we created a new composition, we actually went to file, new, composition, new composition, control and N. That's how we went to the create a new composition. So I don't want to create a new one because I want to explain this composition that we are seeing right now. So I'll go back to composition settings, because if I go to new composition, I'll still see these settings. It's a pop-up. So let me go back to it. So now this is the composition settings that we have here. Okay, the composition settings, describes what we have on our timeline here. Okay, from what you see here is 0 seconds down to 30 seconds. Okay, that was set here. Duration 30 seconds. Okay, so because this is an hour, this is minutes, next double zero, this is seconds, and this is nanoseconds. Okay, or you can take it to look like the frame seconds that was set here, or the frame rate that was set here. If the frame rate here that was set here is increased or tampered with, it will also affect what is viewed here. What this means is that if we set a frame per second of 60, what will happen here is that this nanoseconds here will get up to 60 before a second is made. So I can actually put 59 here and it will stay. Okay, because the frame rate is 60 frames per second. But if the frame rate is reduced to the default 29.7, what will happen? Now see what has happened. It means that the highest number here will be 29. Okay, it doesn't count the 0.7, 0.97, the 29, and the next one, once it gets to 29, it enters, it becomes 1. So that's something you should take note of. That's exactly what happened right here now. So normally the frame per second that we use is 29.7 by default, except you know what you are doing. Maybe you're working with a 60 frame per second video, maybe working in Premiere Pro or anything, so you can come and change that to be 60 frames per second. Otherwise, I recommend that the presets that you should use is this HDTV 1080 29.7. When you click here, you will find it here, HDTV 1080 29.7. So make sure that that's what you set for your own. Don't try to change it except we agree to change it. Then the width and height can also be left for now, because we are just trying to learn. When we are really doing something serious, we'll tamper with this width and height, especially if we want to do the Instagram 1:1 ratio. Okay, so that's video, we can tamper it and I will tell us what number is best to put there. Then the background color is actually the color, that's this one now, the color that is showing at the background here. This can be tampered with in the sense that you can turn it to white or any color. Okay, and turn it to any color, but white and black has always been my thing. Okay, because there are other ways to create background colors. Okay, even the shape area we just created is a background color. If you want to use it for a background, we are so free to do that. Okay, so since I've been able to explain this now, then you should already understand that it is those settings that we have made in the composition settings that describes a lot in this place, in this timeline. Okay, first of all, you will notice that each of the shape layer we created has its own unique layer color. Layer color does not mean that is the color on the text, or it's just to differentiate, to help our eyes. We have up to many, I think 10 tools. So if you click on the layer color here, you see all the colors you can change. So you can change this to yellow, and you can change this to orange. Just something you can use to differentiate one another. It's very important for you, so that you don't be adjusting the wrong layer when you want to. Okay. Then there's the timeline indicator, or the time indicator, that helps you to when we come to keyframing, that helps you to assign a particular effect or action at every region. So this is very important, because you need to know when to move this to a particular point and take it back. You get? Okay, so there are shortcuts that we'll be using because of this indicator. This indicator will help us a lot. Okay, so there are shortcuts we'll be using. For instance, let's start taking one shortcut. So we'll use this as a prep. Okay. The home key on the keyboard. When you press the home key on the keyboard, this is a new laptop for me, so I'm looking for my own. Alright, so I just saw it now. The home key on the keyboard takes it back to the beginning, and the end key takes it back to the end. Okay, now this timeline indicator, you can click on anywhere around the seconds, not here, but seconds area. Okay, you can click anywhere there, and that will bring the time indicator to that point. Okay, so I can click on the 10 seconds, I can click on the 15 seconds, and the 20 seconds, even in between, anywhere at all, and the time indicator will just come to that point. What that can help us do is to actually fix some actions there. Okay, because animation is timely. Okay, it's timely, so we can fix some actions, and that's why it is needful that you know when to send the indicator to a particular point and when not to. Alright, so I've given one shortcut, which is the home. Home is just to take it to the beginning, and end is to take it to the end. That's the home and end key on the keyboard. However, you can also use the page up and page down. Page up to move forward. Is it forward? Oh, move backward, so it should have been up or front. Page down to move forward, but it's moving very slow. Okay, it's moving per frame per frame. Okay, and page up is like doing the opposite, one frame. Now, how do you know? I want you to fix your eyes on this while I press this. Okay, so if I page up, I'm going back, the indicator is moving back. You can see that, and because we are using a 29.97 frame per second, you will notice that by the time I get to 29, the next frame will be a second. So you see, so that's exactly what happens. Okay, that's what I try to explain in the composition settings, that depending on your frame per second, once you get to 29, your nanoseconds reading ends, makes a second. And because you already know that 60 seconds makes a minute, so if this was more than the 60 seconds composition settings for animation, once we get to 60, it makes a minute and it counts. And if it's more than a minute, which I know that you will never have to do, once you get to the 60 minutes, you enter 1 hour. So that's just for you to know. But the nanoseconds here is just a frame rate we set at the composition setting. So having known that, and I'm just explaining now how we can move forward with the page down frame by frame, just with the page down and page up. Okay, then the next thing you want to also know is that we can move faster if we want. Okay, let's go back to when it was exactly 1 second. And this time around, we are going to add a modifying key to the page job. Okay, we'll add a modifying key, which is shift and page down. And as I just pressed it, we moved 10 frames, shift and page down. We moved 10 frames, shift and page down, 10 frames. And that brings us to the next second. We did that twice, and 10 frames in 3 places. We're already at 2 seconds. Okay, so that is that for the frame, or for the indicator movement. There are other ways anyway. There are other ways, like you can use the Control Shift arrow key, right arrow key. It's the same thing with the shift and page down. While the Control Shift left arrow key is also the same thing as the shift page up. I don't know why they have to combine 2 shortcuts for one function, or have 2 shortcuts for one function. If left for me, I'll just use the Control Shift page down for something else. Okay, alright, so you have to also take note that shift and page down, and that functions as Control Shift and right arrow key. It should not be confused with shift and arrow key, right arrow key. Because what that will do, we only move the object in your composition. You can see the object in the composition, how it's moving. It will only move your objects in your composition. Like, okay, that text is white still, so let's change it to black, so you see how the movement. So it can only make so that this is shift and right arrow key. However, if you just add control to it, you're already moving the timeline indicator. That's what is happening right now. Okay, so these are basic functions you should know working with your indicator. This will come in very handy. You can't even run away from this. You can't even run away. There is the other shortcut I would have introduced, but I think I will have to introduce one of them and leave one of them, a pair of them rather, and leave a pair of those shortcuts until I have taught keyframing. Okay, so that's the first one I want to explain, or I want to introduce it. First, I have to explain these timeline layers that we created and how they can be adjusted. If you look at right now, we are on the shape layer timeline, and by the time we move this away from the visibility of the indicator, it vanished from the composition. If you bring it right under the indicator can read it. So you need to understand that this indicator is like a time-based indicator that, it's reading whatever layer is on that particular frame. It's moving frame by frame. This is we're in frame 2 seconds 11 frame FPS. Okay, so right now whatever is beneath it is what is reading. However, okay, let me show us how to zoom quickly. We can hold down the Alt key and zoom and adjust. So when you zoom, what happens is that you now see the seconds and the frames very, very clearly. Like, this is 3 seconds. Initially we were not seeing it when we zoomed out. We were only seeing the calibration of 5 seconds or multiples of 5 seconds in the calibrations. Okay, so but when we zoom, we can see it in another multiple. This is 2 seconds and multiples of 2 seconds. We zoom further, we keep seeing it until we start seeing a new what's it called, unit, which is like 25 frames. So this is a kind of a 5 frame, multiples of 5 frames calibrations. Okay, and when you zoom further, you will start seeing a singular frame. So this is 24, this is 25, this is 26, And when you get to 29, then you see 4 seconds. So you can actually move your bar, scroll your bar to where you have your indicator. So this is your indicator now. Now it will be clear to you how your indicator moves. Okay, when you press the page down, it jumps to 27. Press the page down again, it jumps to 28. And now what I was trying to explain, it will be clearer here. When I press the page down now, I'm in 29. And of course, you should know that by the time I press the page down, I'm already seeing my indicator is already at the new shape layer that was created and have, you know, that effect we added for gradient effect. Okay, 4 color gradient effect. So this is exactly what makes animation to be animation, that in every frame there is something we have put there to play, and that thing can continue in the next frame and the next frame and the next frame, making it all animation. Alright, so that's something you should know. So we can have a lot of layers here. Let me create I need to create something that we sing. It's okay. Solid colors can be used for background most times, so I can just choose a background. Okay, since I'm working with yellow and green, let me pick yellow. Yeah, so I have a yellow here, but it's above, so you see that thing I'm seeing, that layering in Photoshop, and so you can bring it down, and you can also adjust it. You can also adjust in such a way that let me zoom out. When you are zooming out of the timeline, make sure you're also having your mouse hovering around here, because it's different from when you are zooming out here. Okay, so try to make sure that and zooming out here, you don't need to hold the Alt key. You just zoom with your mouse scroll wheel. Okay, if you are using a mouse, okay, external mouse is very important too. But here, it doesn't happen that way. So scrolling with the mouse wheel doesn't work. So you have to add the Alt key and scroll. Okay, that way it zooms. Alright, so I was going to say that here we can see that the indicator starts, and the background color that came with the composition settings, that's white, is there until it meets with the first, or greets with the first layer that is serving as the background. Then we have a new background. So you must have seen many animations coming up with new backgrounds. Now you know the secret. Okay, so that's how we flow until we have maybe like all these layers are coming between and all that. So they are all timely based, something you should take note of up until the end of time. Alright, so that is it for this tutorial. I hope I've been able to explain first the panels that are very important to us, and next the timeline panel. Alright, thank you very much. Until the next tutorial, please take your time to understand, practice, move objects, just create all these things you have tried to create. Just mimic the video. That's just it. Alright, thank you. Till next time, peace.